PanCrop tool to do picture-in-picture or motion picture-in-picture or motion pips as it's sometimes known, and also the Ken Burns effect as it's sometimes called, which is pan and scan, and how you can do that. But there is plenty more to this tool to do with masking and the way that we can play with effects, which we'll cover over the next few tutorials. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to pull Banbury Castle, drop it to my timeline. This is just a still image, and I've made it fit with my preferences, and I'm going to go back using the open square bracket tool to the beginning of the selected event, and I'm going to click the event PanCrop tool, and here we are in normal event PanCrop mode. You would perhaps sometimes have these different bits and pieces showing, but I've got them hidden at the moment just by clicking this button so I can see more screen real estate. Now, so far we've been looking at the position and zooming in and out and doing those kinds of things, but there is this checkbox for masking. And when you click the checkbox for masking, you now have the ability to select parts of the image that you want to reveal, because by default, masks reveal. Now there are built-in tools, such as the rectangle square or the oval circle tool, for creating sort of default shapes, and we'll look at that sort of thing in the next tutorial. But in this tutorial, I want to look at these tools up here. So we've got normal selection tool, we've got an anchor creation tool, an anchor deletion tool, and I want to show you how to use them. There's also another tool down here which is for split tangents, which we'll get to in a minute. But if you understand how these tools work, then you can create some amazing masks very quickly that can be very effective. So I'm going to go through them bit by bit. So I'm going to take this, firstly, the anchor creation tool, and I'm going to click 5 times. And I'm just going to click, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and go back to the original point. And when I hover over the original point, you'll see all the other points, well, certainly these ones, not the very last one, but all the other points change, and I get the little circle. If I'm not quite over the vertex, I get the plus sign, which tells me it's going to add another anchor. But I don't want that, I just want to close it. Now when I close it, look over in my preview window, click, and you'll see that that shape is represented on my preview screen. Now you can't see the clip below it. The clip below it is there. It's just one of those quirks of the screen recording software I'm using. So if I click here, you can clearly see the images below. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning of that clip. Sorry you can't see it. Now if I go back to my ordinary normal edit tool, I can select that and I can hit delete. It's gone. That's where you can create corner points, corner anchor points. However, there is a different way of working with this tool which is really clever. And it allows you to create Bezier handles that allow you to create curvature of your path. And I'm going to create sort of a circle or an oval at least with just 2 points. I'm going to click, hold my mouse button and drag, and I get what's called a Bezier handle. And you'll notice that they're linked at the moment. The more I pull one out, the other one will pull out. They're only linked, by the way, when you create them usually. You can move them independently after they've been created, but when you create them at the beginning, they're kind of created and linked. Now, this Bezier handle is saying the path that will come out from this anchor really wants to go in this direction. And the longer the path is, the more influence that this vertex has on it. So if I had this really wide out here, the path would really want to go out a long way before it would go into the next point. Because I'm going to create my next point down here, and I'm going to pull this way. So I'm saying the path comes out of this one and goes into this one, and I want it to go this way. So watch what happens. If I click, hold, and drag, the path wants to go this way, but the path is going this way because that's the direction I dragged. Now if I go back to the original point, I get that little circle saying I'm going to close this path. Bang. A kind of circle is created. Okay? And if you hover over a point, you can change how it works. It's effectively the same as having this one here selected. You change how it works. So I'm clicking and I'm changing it to either add it back to ones with handles or back to a sort of a square, a linear anchor point. And then you can go back and you can actually change one or the other of the handles. Sometimes they'll both pull together if you selected one and then select the other. Okay, so that's how you can create it. It's the same as using this tool here. But you can break handles. So if I hover over this one and I get that split tangent tool, I can pull it up. But if I then hover over the next one, I don't get the split tangent tool, which means they'll kind of link together again, which is a bit of a pain. So how do you deal with it? Split one and then hover over the next one and hold the control key to temporarily bring up the split tangent tool, and I can create a different shape. Can do the same at the top. Hover over this one and split it, pull it out, make it big and wide. Hover over this one, don't get it, hold the control key and pull it out, and I've created a heart shape. Ah, isn't that romantic? But you can create all kinds of weird and wonderful shapes. However, if you decide you want to add extra points, just hover over the line and you can add extra points that can be changed and moved around. You can even go back to the edit tool, select a point and change where it is. Okay, so by using the normal edit tool, you can go in and select points and change them. But say you turn around and say, heck, I don't want that tool after all, and you go to the anchor deletion tool. By the way, can you notice that all the tools have got the same keyboard shortcut, D? That means if you start tapping D, you will cycle through the tools that you've got. Okay, so I'm going to select it anyway, and I'm going to click delete. But this point has now changed. But if I hover over it at the moment, I will delete it. But if I tap D to get another tool, actually, if I click on that one now, they've disappeared from sight. If I click again, I've taken it back to a linear tool. If I click again, I've got it back to the Bezier handles that I can then change. Remember to hold the control key, change it again. I can add another point if I want. I can add another point. I can add as many points as I like. I can shift them around however I like and create weird and wonderful shapes. So that's using what we call Bezier handles. And again, I can get rid of any ones that I don't want. And I can also change the type of keyframe, make them disappear or just change them altogether. Okay, so these are the sort of options that you've got just using these tools to create incredible and versatile shapes, which can be moved around as you wish. Now, one other thing to say is if you hover over a section of a curve, okay, so hover over one part of a mask, you can actually pull out a section of a mask. Okay, so you can pull out a mask and change sections. So rather than clicking on the individual anchors, you can actually go in and change the way these things look. And if I start here and I go forward, say, to 6 seconds, and I pull this through to there, notice that as I go between the two, it is animatable. So you can have masks that will change shape and look different as you go through time. Okay, so there's an awful lot that you can do with masks, and in the next tutorial we'll just have a very brief chat about these ones and the way that you can create different types of shapes, even using the standard tools. I hope you found this useful. My name's Andrew Devis, and thanks